Tim, how often do you get to bat with 10 overs to go in an international game? It's been a while since you've been in that early.
Probably in an international game for Australia because the boys have been batting so well, but it happens quite a bit for me when I'm playing different T20 cricket around the place.
Does that change the way you have to build an innings when you come in?
It can. I think it's really important to try and read the situation of the game. Sometimes I get to go out when we're 1 for 100 in the 10th over and you get to go and express yourself a bit more. Today it felt like there was probably a need to assess conditions a little bit more. It felt like a change because Heady'd played a blinder and it looked like a flatty, but I was batting and I couldn't hit the ball, and it actually didn't feel like that out there in the middle. So it's just trying to pick what is best at the time and trying to read the conditions as well as you can and then put a plan into action.
Just going back to the scenario that faced you a couple of days ago in Wellington, just more broadly, when you go in that position, say it's 40 needed off 3 or something, what are you thinking of in that moment? Is it as simple as put it over the fence, or are you calculating more things in your head?
Yeah, I think the most obvious thing is that you have to be pretty aggressive to have a chance of winning the game. But that was probably the overriding feeling, is that we actually were a good chance because the way the pitch was playing, the boundary sizes at square were short. So I felt like we were a good chance. And then I was kind of saying to Mitch, I was like, look, I think we need 5 or 6 sixes in 14 balls, say we've got, or 15 balls. And that was probably, I didn't feel like I was going to get it running twos. So yeah, my strength is to take the game on, and it probably came to a certain stage in that game where I was like, all right, we've got to make a dip here, try and get the runs. So it just kind of evolved from there.
And just looking forward to the World Cup in June, I know there's a lot of cricket to play before then, but you're going to be on some smaller grounds there in the Caribbean, not dissimilar boundaries to these. So do you think that sort of game plan, when you go in and you can almost calculate it by sixes, might be the way to go? We see how the West Indies play at home, for example, they try and do it in sixes. Do you think the World Cup might play out a bit like that?
Yeah, it's hard to know until you see the pitches, but there's kind of 2 kinds of pitches you can get in the Caribbean. You can get real flatties and there's big scores, or you can get really slow used pitches. And it's something I learned playing the CPL over there is, an over can go for 6 with 5 dots. That's kind of their style of play, but it evolves naturally because if the pitch isn't great, you get 1 ball in your slot, you've got to get after it, and then you might not even be able to hit the other 5 balls. So yeah, it's about trying to be prepared for what you might come up against. Hopefully we get lots of belters, but that's hard to know until we get to those situations.
How many Aussies have played CPL?
There might be a couple in this team. I think Zamp's played quite a few years ago.
Because it's June as well, right? It's real sticky.
Yeah, it's kind of been, the CPL's normally been August, September that I've been there. I kind of went in a COVID one, and I can't remember if anyone else is there. Linny's played a couple. I'm not entirely sure. When I've been there hasn't been many Aussies, but I'm sure a couple of guys have played.
Yeah, cool. So, how crucial is that? You must feel pretty confident.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime, for me, I love being able to have played in conditions before. It's like a bit of experience and a bit of knowledge bank to build on. So I'm fortunate now I've been able to play in most countries, and you get you can know what to expect. So maybe in the lead up you can practice a certain way, or if you don't have time, certain methods that might be more effective and give yourself the best chance of succeeding.
Throwing forward against the World Cup, because obviously you wrapped up the series. Congratulations.
Thanks.
But where's the confidence of this team at now? After the last month or 2 games?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've played in some varying conditions. Obviously, the series in Australia, we played on great pitches, so it was really good. And to see the way our guys batted throughout that series, we played some awesome cricket. I feel like we've got a lot of bases covered, to be honest, with this team, and the guys are playing really well, playing with confidence. So that's the most important thing. And I think the big thing that's spoken about is that if guys can go out and execute, if they play their best game, we're going to win matches of cricket. We're not going out there trying to not make mistakes. It's really important to be in that positive mindset, and I think we've seen that. And there's a lot of match winners in that side, which is really pleasing.
Because the schedule being what it is, everyone goes off to India or wherever else. I mean, it's 4 months away from the first match. Can you just pick it up, or is it so far pick up where you are at the moment there? Or is it just so far away and, injuries can happen or whatever else?
Yeah, it's a long way down the line. There's a whole IPL, which, you could argue is up there with the World Cup. So there'll be guys at different stages throughout that. But as a team, I think when we come into this environment, everyone feels a certain way and we know what we're here to try and achieve. So it is kind of one of those things that you pick up down the line, but guys will be at different stages after that April, May period. So come June. But, we've got great leadership in our captain, our coaches and selectors. So, they'll put a best plan in place for us, and we just trust them to provide us with the best opportunities.
Rubbish Marsh said before the Wellington game that the role that you play there at number 6 is probably the hardest in T20 cricket. Like, do you take a lot of pride in that, or do you aspire to get up the order and make it a different role?
Yeah, at the moment, I'm really pleased with that I've been able to contribute to a couple of games. So that's the biggest part. I don't mind where I play. That's a role that I prepare for a lot. And I think that what he means by saying that it's the hardest is that there's not a lot of guys that specialise in that position, which I've played a lot of T20 games batting in the middle order now. So I've seen a lot of scenarios and I'm learning all the time, trying to improve all the time. But yeah, I don't think it's the hardest position. I would probably, if you put me out there against a swinging ball today at the start where Heady was, it would have looked a lot different, So there's different skill sets that suit different roles, but I'm certainly confident when I walk into a scenario, I can try and have a positive impact for the side.
You mentioned the IPL in your previous answer. Andrew McDonald's spoken about how for the players that are going there, it's a crucial part actually of building up to that. Are you seeing it now as almost a 2 or 3 month lead-in for you personally for that World Cup? And do you mentioned it being close to a World Cup. Do you think it's almost the ideal prep into the World Cup?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. If you're playing good cricket in the IPL, performing well in the IPL, you can perform in international cricket. Maybe you'll get different pitches when come the World Cup and different situations, but that's the pinnacle of T20 cricket that I've seen so far. And for me, playing for Mumbai in the IPL is one of the biggest parts of my year. Well, that alongside, if there was a T20 World Cup, they're pretty much the two most important parts of the year. So I'll be working. For me, it's about working really hard through that period. It's not, the process doesn't really change, and really, I've been fortunate the last few games. I've had a good outcome, but in my position, I can't be outcome. I can't judge myself based on outcomes all the time. Throughout the Big Bash, I couldn't buy a run, and I wasn't taking any catches. So I just tried to double down, work harder than I had before, and I'm probably seeing the fruits of that a little bit now. And it's to try and keep that. You're also going to manage energy levels throughout that period of being away from home and playing a lot of cricket. But I'm always trying to improve, and I feel like that keeps you in the best stead.
Did that concern you at all? You mentioned the BBL run there. Did that concern you at all, or is that wealth of experience you have now, you're able to stay level with?
Yeah, it's never fun to go through, and you go, am I falling apart? But no, I always feel like if I put the work in, I'm going to keep improving, and you trust that. And the hardest part is probably for the people around you in the coaches of the side. They're frustrated because they're trying to get performances out of someone who's probably other people in the squad are looking to perform as well, and it's not happening. So I feel probably like I let other people down more than myself, because I know away from the games I'm putting the work in, trying to improve, doing extra stuff all the time. So it's probably more a frustration thing, and you have to trust that it'll come good in the long run, until you get to a certain point where someone might have to tap you on the shoulder and say you've really lost it. But thankfully I didn't get to that stage, and to be honest, it wasn't a really long period for me. It's only a short tournament, and the position I play, sometimes you can have such varying roles to play. You say, I haven't contributed to winning a game so far this season, but we're 7 games in, and the 3 games we've won, I've had 5 balls to face at the end with guys who've already batted so well. So, you just have to keep trusting, especially for my role. You have to do a lot of work, prepare before the games, get your batting in the nets, and you got to keep trusting that process. Well, the ball's actually reversing a bit. So as he bowled it, I knew it kind of was going to be hard to get under, and it felt like it tailed in a bit. But I felt like I hit it pretty well, and I looked up. To be honest, I just looked up and I was like, oh, it's gone in the gap. That's, come on, let's run. And then thankfully it went for 4. So, it's a pretty good feeling. But it's so hard, again, to control the outcome at that stage. You're just trying to put pressure on the bowler and put a good swing on the ball at that stage, react to what comes down. I think in my career so far, periods where I've tried to control the outcome too much, or you try to plan too far ahead, you end up messing it up. You can't control the outcome. So I've lost so many games playing in that position in the same thing. So when it does come off and you win one, it feels pretty good.
You're on